I drop my rucksack onto the bed in the guest house, springs creaking in protest beneath the thin mattress. The room smells of damp and that peculiar mustiness unique to places the sun rarely touches. Through the window, Tregarrow sprawls beneath me, though sprawl gives it too much credit. A handful of grey stone cottages hunched against the wind, half of them empty by the look of it. My new home, for however long this lasts. The employment agency hadn't bothered with the details, just caretaker position, remote location, accommodation included. When you've been out of work 3 months and the landlord's getting tetchy about rent, you don't ask questions. Rain lashes against the window pane as I unpack the essentials. Toothbrush, 2 shirts, dog-eared paperback. The village disappears beneath a curtain of fog rolling in from the sea. The Drowned Sailor pub glows faintly through the murk. Might as well get the lay of the land. Inside, the pub's warmth hits like a physical force after the bitter coastal wind. 3 men nursing pints glance up, then away. A ruddy-faced landlord polishes glasses behind a scarred wooden bar. Pint of whatever's local. I slide onto a stool. You'll be the new one for St. Olric's then. Not a question. His eyes, shrewd beneath bushy brows, size me up. Word travels fast. Not much else to travel round here. We haven't a priest in that place for years. It's an abandoned place, should be condemned. Mr. Pengelly, according to the faded nameplate on the bar, sets down a dark ale in front of me. How long are you staying? I take a long swallow. Contracts for 6 months. The landlord's laugh is short and sharp. 6 months. Heard that before. Problem with the position? Depends. He leans forward. You believe in ghosts? About as much as I believe in Father Christmas. Church needs someone practical. He nods, apparently approving of my skepticism. Just don't be surprised when the bell tolls. Bell? Midnight. Always midnight. No one up there ringing it, mind you. One of the old men at the corner table coughs meaningfully. That's why the job's open, Pengelly continues, lowering his voice. No one keeps it long, not after they hear it. I'm not easily spooked. They all say that. He turns away to serve another customer, leaving me with my ale and the uncomfortable feeling of being watched by the locals. Through the grimy window, St. Olric Chapel sits atop the headland, a jagged silhouette against the darkening sky. Collect the chapel keys from the parish office the next morning, a rusted iron ring heavy enough to double as a weapon. The elderly clerk hands them over with thinly disguised relief. Previous caretaker lasted 3 weeks, she mutters, not quite meeting my eyes. Left without collecting his wages. St. Olric's stands alone against the grey sky, its stone blackened by centuries of sea spray. My footsteps crunch on the gravel path, winding through a graveyard of tilted headstones. The wind whispers through dead leaves, carrying salt and a metallic tang that clings to the back of my throat. The main door groans open on ancient hinges. Inside, the chapel air hangs still and thick with dust. Shafts of coloured light filter through the stained glass, illuminating dancing motes. My footsteps echo on worn flagstones as I take inventory of my new domain. Pews with faded cushions, an altar cloth that's seen better centuries, a baptismal font filled with stagnant water, everything exactly as a forgotten church should be, except for the silence. It feels expectant. The bell tower door sits at the back, secured with iron chains that look far newer than anything else in the building. A heavy padlock holds them in place. Curious, I find the right key and unlock it. The chains slither to the ground with a clatter that reverberates through the empty chapel. Behind the door, a narrow staircase spirals upward. I make it halfway before encountering the problem. Several steps have crumbled away completely, leaving a gap too wide to jump. The remaining wood looks rotted through. Right then, I mutter to the empty air. Add that to the repair list. I back down carefully and turn my attention to a warped wooden cabinet nestled in an alcove. Inside, leather-bound ledgers and parish records sit in neat if dusty rows. I pull one out at random, its pages yellowed and brittle. Names and dates swim before me, births, deaths, marriages, ordinary lives recorded in fading ink. I flip forward, scanning entries until a phrase catches my eye. The last Bellringer. Elijah Vane, the entry reads, appointed 1832. The neat handwriting details his duties, ringing for services, funerals, celebrations. Then, halfway down the page, his name appears one final time, the entry unfinished, the ink trailing off into nothing. I close the ledger and return it to the cabinet, unsettled by the unfinished entry. The rest of the day passes in a blur of cobweb clearing and inventory taking. The vicarage cottage attached to the chapel is small but serviceable. One bedroom, a cramped kitchen, and a sitting room with a fireplace that smokes when the wind blows wrong. That first night, I fall into an exhausted sleep, only to jerk awake. I squint at my watch. Midnight. Something's pulled me from sleep, but what? The cottage creaks and settles around me as I strain to listen. There. A sound so faint I might be imagining it. A distant toll, like a bell being struck once, gently. I roll over, blaming the wind. The second night, there's no wind at all. The air hangs dead and still outside my window, the sea a black mirror reflecting moonlight. I'm drifting off when I hear it again, a single, clear toll that seems to vibrate through the stone walls themselves. I sit up, fully awake now. It's impossible. The bell tower stairs are broken. No one could reach the bell. I sleep for the rest of the night fitfully. The third night brings something new. Footsteps. Slow, measured pacing directly above my bedroom. Back and forth, back and forth. The cottage sits flush against the chapel's north wall, my bedroom directly beneath where the bell tower rises. Bloody kids, I mutter, throwing back the covers. If some local teenagers have found a way up there, I'll have them out by their ears. I grab my torch and stomp across the cottage in my pyjamas, out of the door and around to the chapel entrance. The iron key turns smoothly in the lock. Inside, the chapel is tomb dark and silent. My torchlight sweeps across empty pews as I make my way to the bell tower door. The chains lie where I left them, the door still unlocked. I shine the light up the staircase, still broken, still impassable. And yet, as I stand there, I hear it again. Footsteps, resuming their steady pacing overhead, directly above me now. Slow, deliberate. I cannot get up there now, and it is most likely bats or roosting seabirds. The next morning, I trudged down to the village, desperate for answers and decent coffee. The pub's closed, but the parish office, a glorified cupboard attached to the council building, has its lights on. I push open the door to find an elderly man hunched over ancient-looking documents. "Good morning," I say to attract his attention. He looks up, rheumy eyes narrowing. "You're the new caretaker at St. Olric's." Not a question. Third night, and already the bell's tolling. I force a laugh. Quite the welcome party. His gnarled hands go still on the papers. You've heard it then. And footsteps in a tower with broken stairs. Care to explain? The clerk sighs, pushes aside his work, and gestures to a chair. Sit. I found records mentioning Elijah Vane, I say, remaining standing. The last Bellringer. His entry just stops. Elijah rang the death toll one too many times. The clerk's voice drops to nearly a whisper. That's what my grandfather told me, and his grandfather before him. What does that mean? He shuffles to a filing cabinet, pulls out a leather-bound volume even older than those in the chapel. 1832, the sweating sickness came to Tregarrow. Nearly half the village died in a fortnight. I lean forward as he turns brittle pages. Elijah's job was to ring the passing bell for each death. 1 toll for a child, 3 for a woman, 7 for a man. By the end, the bell rang from dawn till dusk. And then? The sickness passed, the dead were buried. But Elijah, he taps an yellowed newspaper clipping. He kept ringing. Every midnight, said he could hear the dead calling for their toll. Aye, the village thought so too. They tried to stop him, but he barricaded himself in the tower, rang that bell for 3 more nights. What happened to him? On the 4th night, he sealed himself inside, somehow collapsed the staircase. His final toll, they say, carried his curse, that Tregarrow would never forget those it left to die. He closes the book. They found his body a month later when they broke through, starved himself, clutching the bell rope. I scoff, though it sounds hollow even to my ears. Ghosts to scare tourists. Believe what you like, he shrugs, but no caretakers lasted more than a month since 73. That night, I dream of climbing endless spiral stairs, drawn upward by the rhythmic tolling of a bell. 7 rings, a man's death. When I wake, sweating and disorientated, the midnight toll echoes through the cottage walls. The next night, I wake to the deafening clamour of metal against metal. The bell, 7 tolls, precise and measured, each one drilling into my skull. Not muffled by distance or imagination. It's as real as the sweat soaking my sheets. That's not possible, I mutter, fumbling for my torch. The watch reads midnight. Outside, the moon hangs accusatory above St. Olric's silhouette. The bell tower stands black against the night sky, and there a faint glow pulses from the narrow slit window near the top. I throw on clothes and boots, leaving the front door and stumbling across the graveyard to get a better look. Seeing the glow, I know I must investigate. The chapel door creaks open at my touch, revealing the familiar musty darkness. A thin trail of footprints disturbs the dust on the stone floor, leading from the altar toward the padlocked tower door. Fresh prints, not mine. Hello? My voice echoes back, mocking me. Is someone here? Silence answers, but as I approach the altar, something feels different. The heavy stone slab sits slightly askew, as though recently moved. I press my shoulder against it, pushing until it grates across the floor. Beneath lies a small hollow, and within it, a leather-bound book, its cover stained dark with what might be blood or centuries of handling. This isn't happening, I whisper, even as my fingers trace the embossed name on the cover. Elijah Vane. The pages crackle as I open it, revealing a cramped, desperate handwriting that fills every margin. The final entry reads, I ring so they won't forget. I ring so they remember the dead. I ring until they come for me too. As I read the words aloud, the bell begins to toll again. 1 stroke, then another. 1, 2, 3. I slam the journal shut, but the tolling continues. 4, 5, 6, 7. The horrible thought forms. Is it counting for me now? I've barely slept since finding Elijah's journal. Every midnight, the bell tolls 7 times, then stops. I've checked the tower door each morning, always locked, chains intact, undisturbed. Until tonight. I'm jolted awake, not by the bell, but by silence. Midnight comes and goes without a single toll. The absence of sound is somehow worse than the ringing. Torch in hand, I creep across the graveyard. The fog clings to my ankles like desperate hands. The chapel door stands ajar, moonlight slicing through the gap. Inside, my beam catches the tower entrance. The padlock lies on the stone floor, chains coiled beside it like a sleeping serpent. The door swings gently on ancient hinges, revealing the spiral staircase beyond. Someone's playing games, I mutter, my voice unnaturally loud in the silence. I should leave, call someone, anyone. Instead, my feet carry me forward, up the first step, then the next. Someone, not me, has placed a large wooden board across the steps to reach the top of the bell tower. I grip my torch even tighter as I continue. Someone is playing games, tricks to unsettle me into fleeing this place. They won't be happy when I confront them. The wooden stairs groan beneath my weight, each creak a protest against my intrusion. My torch beam dances across stone walls slick with condensation. Shadows twist and contort as I climb, forming shapes that vanish when I look directly at them. Higher, tighter, the staircase narrows, the air thickens with dust and the metallic tang of old iron. I reach the bell chamber breathless, my torch illuminating the massive iron bell hanging motionless from ancient oak beams. It's larger than I imagined, its surface pitted with age, inscribed with symbols I don't recognize. Then my light catches something else. A figure stands beside the bell, draped in faded ecclesiastical robes. The hood obscures most of its face, but I can see the hollow sockets where eyes should be, and, God help me, the mouth, sewn shut with rusted wire that pulls the grey skin into a grotesque grimace. The figure extends a withered hand, offering me the bell rope. No words, no threat, just the silent command. I shake my head. I won't. The figure doesn't move, doesn't speak, can't speak. My hand reaches out against my will, fingers closing around the coarse hemp. It burns against my palm, as though soaked in acid. I pull once. The sound explodes through me. Blood trickles warm from my ears, running down my neck. I pull again. The second toll spins my vision, the chamber revolving around me like a carousel. The third pull comes without my volition, my arm moving of its own accord. As the sound reverberates, I stagger to the window. Below, the graveyard fills with shadowy figures in Victorian dress, heads bowed in silent prayer. Parishioners, long dead, answering the call of the bell. My arm jerks upward for the fourth toll, the rope slicing into my palm. The bell's voice echoes across the village, across time itself. Stop, I gasp, but my protest drowns beneath the thunderous peal. More spectres are filing into the graveyard below. Children in tattered clothes, women in modest bonnets, men with hollow eyes and gaunt faces. Their forms shimmer, translucent, yet somehow solid in their presence. The fifth toll tears from the bell without my consent, my arm moving like a marionette's. Blood now flows freely from my ears, warm rivulets tracking down my neck, soaking my collar. A strange glow catches my peripheral vision. Orange light flickers at the edges of the chamber. Fire. Flames lick up the ancient wooden beams, but they burn with an unearthly quality, casting light but no heat, consuming nothing, yet spreading rapidly. The sixth toll comes with a sound like the earth splitting. The spectral congregation below lifts their faces toward the tower in perfect unison, their mouths open in silent screams, faces contorted with ancient grief. The hooded figure's grip tightens on my wrist, forcing my bloodied hand to pull the rope once more. 7. The final toll doesn't simply sound, it tears through reality. The spectral fire engulfs the bell tower completely, blue-white flames dancing across my skin without burning. Through the window, I see the graveyard is filled with hundreds more ghosts, standing motionless amongst the headstones, their hollow eyes fixed on the tower. The hooded figure, Elijah, it must be Elijah, releases my hand and moves to the window. He gestures towards the assembled dead, a conductor before his orchestra. The flames part around him like curtains. "What do they want?" I whisper, my voice barely audible even to myself. The figure turns, those empty eye sockets boring into me. Slowly, deliberately, he reaches up and begins unwinding the rusted wire that seals his lips. The wire falls away, a coiled metal serpent at his feet. His mouth opens, a black, hollow void. No tongue, no teeth, just emptiness from which a voice emerges, ancient as the stone beneath us. "The bell must toll," he whispers. "Someone must remember." "Remember what?" I ask, though I already know. The plague, the children, the mothers, the fathers, all forgotten by the living, all abandoned to unmarked graves. He extends his hand again, this time not offering the rope, but reaching for my face. His cold fingers trace my cheek, my lips, my eyelids. "They need a Bellringer," he says. "I have served my time." Understanding floods through me like ice water. This isn't possession. It's succession. "No," I say, backing away. "I won't stay here. I won't become you." But the spectral flames have sealed the stairway. The only exit is the window, a sheer drop to the jagged rocks below. "The choice was made when you climbed," Elijah says. "When you rang." The fire intensifies, but not burning, but transforming. I feel it seeping into my skin, my bones, my blood. Elijah's form begins to fade, his substance transferring to me with each passing second. "Ring for them," he whispers as he dissipates. "Ring, so they are remembered." Dawn breaks. Golden light spills through the tower window. The fire is gone. The ghosts have vanished. Elijah has disappeared. I am alone with the bell. Below, I hear voices. Villagers wondering where I am. I try to call out, but my voice no longer works. My mouth feels strange, tight. When I touch my lips, I feel the threading of wire. Night falls, then another dawn, and another night. I watch as search parties come and go. They never climb the tower. They never see me. At midnight, my arm rises of its own accord. I toll the bell. The dead gather below, silent and expectant. I thought I was tending a dead church. Turns out, I was feeding the bell. And now, it also tolls for me.